everyone, this is your friend Venkat Ramakrishnan at Software Testing and Quality Talks, bringing you the next episode. Today we have Samir Nanda from Pune, who is a software development engineer in test, working with web automation frameworks, multiple programming languages, infrastructure and cloud platforms, APIs and microservices. Welcome Samir to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi Venkat, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. It's very interesting to have met you in the social media and talking to you about software testing profession. You had some pretty interesting viewpoints, the challenges that the software testers are facing today. Could you elaborate on those things for me?
Sure, Venkat. So the first thing I would like to share about me is I'm having 8+ years experience into testing, manual plus automation. Nowadays, what happens is if you call a tester for any interview, the organizations expect the tester should have knowledge about automation, the languages, some domain knowledge, testing related knowledge. Can you please brief me about if someone is asking me that you should have knowledge about a language, scripting language, any database knowledge, REST API, then API automation, then CLI, then Python. Being a tester, we should have the manual testing knowledge as well. Like so that is the thing we are facing. What we are doing today in our current project. Besides that, we have to prepare for a lot just to appear in the interview.
Right. So it's a very involved question. Let me address in some detail. There are multiple parts to it. It's mostly about the way the industry is moving. As I had explained to you in the social media, way the software development is getting done is changing because of need for faster development and faster verification. When we are looking at faster verification, what it means is it is not just about the black box part of it. People are looking at whether the testers are able to do the white box testing also. And the reason for doing that is that the companies are feeling that the black box testing is at the fag end of the product development. That is after the code is done. And then you go ahead and test it and you find defects on it and then the developers fixing it and so on. That is very late in the cycle, and that also involves a lot of cost for fixing that at that point of time as far as the product development is concerned. Instead of that, companies are expecting that the testers get involved right in the beginning. This is called the shift left strategy, in which the testers are involved in reviewing the code itself when the code is getting developed. That means you have to sit with the developer to find out any defects that are being made while the code is under development. So this is the expectation of the companies. By doing this, the code becomes defect free, hopefully, in the coding stage itself. This is good, but at the same time, this places additional responsibilities on the tester. Tester has to be now very well versed with the product coding language. I spoke about this in my last video in my YouTube channel. So I would say that this is an additional responsibility for the tester, which is good. But at the same time, the testers could find it a bit stressful because they have to learn the additional stuff. There is also this other concern that testers might become redundant in the team. So the only differentiating factor between the developer and the tester would be the code, and the code is generated by the developer. So what would be the role of tester then? Then what is the need for tester in the team is the question that would rise in the minds of the organizations. And then testers would become redundant. That is my concern. So I hope that answers your question.
Nice way you have explained it. But I have a concern regarding this. You mentioned about the tester should sit with developer to verify the code. At that part of time, let's say we are working in an agile environment. In that case, let's say we have divided the sprint. One sprint will be of 15 days. And in that 15 days, the task which needs to be completed by the dev, they will hand over to QA, and then QA will start verifying the functionalities and the defects and all those parts. That will be done in between these 2 weeks. If tester will go to developer, sit with them, verify the code, then come back to their seat and then have that build, then create the test cases, then test. Would that be possible for testers, or it will be very, very hectic for them?
No, it won't be possible in the way that you described. it will be too much to do both of them. Either we have to stick with the white box testing or we have to stick with the black box testing. We cannot do both. So the idea is to skip the black box testing totally, is what the plan seems to be right now by the organizations. They don't believe in black box testing or the exploratory testing or the manual testing or the human testing, whatever you call it. They don't believe in it anymore. They feel that it is not being effective in finding the defects, and they want to move the whole process to the code review itself, so that the testers, whatever exploration that they are doing of the test cases, they would do that on the code itself. You can jot down those test cases in a document and then bring that to the code review. And during the code review, you ask those questions. Where exactly are you addressing that in the code? And what are the checks that you are making? You can review the boundary cases, right? So that's going to be a very involved discussion, and it is going to take a lot of time, taking the whole lot of testing time rather than doing any kind of manual or a black box testing. I don't think companies are particular about doing black box testing anymore. From the way I understand it, it's only going to be the code review along with the developers, like a pair programming or a mob programming, if you have heard about those terms before.
So Venkat, you were saying that manual testing future is gone?
No, I'm not saying that it is gone. What I'm saying is you do the planning, you write the test plan, you have all the cases noted down. Instead of doing it individually, separately, you do that along with the developer, right? So you bring the test plan to the code review, do the test exploration along with the developer, so that the developer is aware of cases that I need to consider. These are the cases I need to add tests. So if you are doing test-driven development, during the development itself, the developer will be adding those additional cases that you are bringing up, and then they will be including that in the code. This is one approach I think that people have in mind right now. Ultimately very complex, because several organizations have several different methodologies that they are implementing in different levels of evolution. Some are following Scrum, some are following Kanban, some are doing SDLC. So it all depends on your specific organizational setup and what you are trying to do. To address your question, you asked why the testers are being asked to learn so many things. And this is the reason for companies asking you to learn so many things: the code, the development and the deployment environment and the production tools and everything, so that you know end to end about the whole thing and don't miss out on anything. That's the whole idea.
So Venkat, this is what we are calling it as a full stack QA. Am I right?
Well, I don't want to get into any specific keyword, so call it whatever you want to, but these are the general expectations. Let me dive into a bit of more of your experience into these different asks, being familiar with so many things. What are the specific challenges you faced? For example, be familiar with the coding language. What are the kind of challenges you faced with that?
So when I started with testing as my career, I was only focused on all the functional testing. Then I slowly moved into the code part, like where I will go through the developer's code to understand what actually they are doing. Then when the automation part came to me, then I start learning the languages. In one company or one organization, I learned something, I implemented something, get familiar with that language. Now going forward, we have to maintain the manual testing as well, like functional testing, as well as all the interfaces. There are 3 interfaces through which we have to do testing. Like you mentioned earlier, that we have to go only white box testing, not the black box one. But let's say product has UI, CLI and API interfaces. As a tester or as a QA, I cannot guarantee that product is bug free if you only go for the API testing. You have to go for the UI to see that if each of the element are located at the particular location, if the UI is looking attractive, so that user can have a good experience while working with that UI, right? And CLI as well, where there are a lot of commands or helps that are provided to user get started with the product. So now if I move into some other organization, if you get an opportunity to work on the same technology stack, then you are very, very lucky.
Those are very good points. Actually, I really like the point about the user interface part, because just by looking at the code, you won't be able to say how the user interface is going to look like, how the user experience is going to be like. So that needs some separate time to assess and analyze, which cannot be done with white box testing. I think it has to be done through manually testing it or using an automation tool. And even before we use the automation tool, we have to do manual analysis of whether the user interface experience is acceptable based on what the customer needs are, and then only we can move on to automation. So I agree with that point very much. And your other point about changing technology stack is also very valuable. There are so many programming languages today. If somebody moves from a company to another company or from one team to another team, it's really going to be challenging, because then you have to learn everything. Otherwise, you will have to have experts in each of the languages. The companies needs to have people with multiple language skills so that they can make use of people with that specific skill. I don't think all the companies will adopt such an approach. There will be requirements for the same person being able to do multiple programming languages. It's called polyglot, but I really doubt that's an unusual expectation.
Right. Being a QA, you have to perform all the functionality tests. That part automated, as well as you have to go for the security testing as well as performance testing, all those things, right? The thing is, organizations are now expecting a lot, including these things as well. Like if you are following the agile way and you want one QA to perform all of these things, he should have or she should have the knowledge of functional testing, automation testing, scripting, as well as the security testing, performance testing. I think that is a lot, because these are the areas that are not small areas actually. It's a lot. It's huge.
Absolutely. So performance as well as security, they are huge areas. If you take each of these areas, we could deal with it for multiple weeks. So it's not small. I agree, completely agree. My question would be, why would organizations expect a single person to have knowledge in all these areas? I have seen profiles where testers are calling themselves as performance testers or security analysts, things like that. But from what you describe, it looks like everything is on your head. I think that's a really difficult position to be in. I think companies are hiring specialists for each area. So why do you think a tester should be doing all the stuff?
No, Venkat. This is not. I'm saying that I am doing it. This is what my personal experience is. I have been asked these questions, even if I have not mentioned in my CV that I have the database knowledge. Still, interviewer went ahead and asked me questions from database. If you get a chance to test this database, what is the approach you would take? There is no such thing in my resume or in your job description. Then why this question is there? I am not actually prepared for this.
So that's fine. You can just tell the interviewer that, this is something that I don't deal with. For example, I'm not a database expert. Don't ask these questions to me because that is not my area of specialization. You can say that. You can project your points. Like, for example, if you are very good at performance testing, then you can go ahead and say that I'm a performance tester. I don't know the functional areas of the database. So somebody else has to help me out with those things. You can say that. And there's nothing wrong in saying that.
Agree. Yes.
Yeah. So pretty interesting discussion.
It was a very good discussion.
I would like to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. We discussed some very interesting points, and I look forward to talking to you and have experience sharing sessions as the industry is also evolving in the methodologies and the processes that they are following. So it would be interesting to talk to you in the future also along these lines. I wish you all the best in your career.
Thank you so much, Venkat. And I am honored to be a part of this presentation. And yeah, thank you and all the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All of those who listen to this podcast, thank you so much. Please stay tuned to my YouTube channel by subscribing to my channel, as I am in the process of bringing out regular videos on various aspects of software testing and quality. See you soon.